and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the official views of Real TV, its management, or affiliates. Content is provided for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Our local, regional and international viewers, thank you kindly for choosing us here on Real TV, where we bring reality to you, my dear friends. A very warm welcome to another edition of the program Conversations with Zelisa, where we continue to inform, educate, empower and answer those unanswered questions. I am Zelisa Rupani, humbly inviting you to sit back, relax, enjoy, get your pen, get your notebook, Real TV, so you could take notes and important numbers that will be helpful for you and your loved ones. Directing this morning and in Master Control, Nathaniel Reed. On behalf of the team, I'd like to wish each and every one of you a beautiful, blessed, productive and great day today. Happy Monday, my friends. It's Monday, the 22nd of June, 2026. Can you believe it? 22 days old. And so happy Monday. I trust all is well, you're safe, you're happy, you're in good health, and you're having yourself a beautiful day, reminding you life is what you make of it. Now, if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday. If it's your anniversary, happy anniversary to you and yours. That's someone special. Reminding you that tomorrow is not promised, so don't take life for granted, don't take your loved ones for granted, all right? Let's quickly go to our quote for today, coming to us with the kind compliments of Fab India Expo. And our quote says, you don't have to have everything all figured out to move forward. Just need to take that next step. You don't have to have everything all figured out to move forward. You just need to take that first step in moving forward, letting go, out with the old, in with the new. Allow a new chapter to start, all right? And thank you so much for that, Nathaniel. That came to us with the kind compliments of Fab India Expo. Let's quickly go to their ad, please.
Looking for something truly unique this season? Then you need to visit Fab India Expo, located opposite Medford Gas Station, Shogunas. Brand new containers have just arrived, packed with one-of-a-kind garments you won't find anywhere else. Whether you're shopping for something stylish, traditional, or custom-made, we've got you covered with made-to-order pieces tailored just for you. And it doesn't stop there. Take a stroll through our full food court, offering delicious options for the entire family. From savory bites to sweet treats, there's something for everyone. Plus, don't miss our big sale on furniture. Upgrade your home with beautiful pieces at unbeatable prices. So come on down to the Fab India Expo, located opposite Medford Gas Station, Shogunas, where culture, style, and savings come together.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zelisa, right here on Real TV, where we bring reality to you, to all of our local or regional or international viewers. All 3.1 million of you, thank you. You all made it possible. We're forever grateful. And I want to remind you to like and share, because it's great content. Knowledge is power, all right? To those of you on Tego, the app, and of course in Canada on the Caribbean Showtime Television, thanks for choosing to spend your time with us. Now, I want to remind you, Tego, all you've got to do is download it. It's absolutely free. It's an app. And the beauty is you could take Real TV with you real time, anytime, every time, all right? So you could be part of our dynamic lineup and great programming. And today I am in conversation with a daughter of the soil, very talented young lady, Gabriella Scott. She's an artist and also the Alexander Technique teacher. And good morning and a warm welcome. Nice to have you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Zelisa.
Well, you know, when we hear artists, we know talented and we understand, and we could understand what is an artist. But like myself and many others out there, what is the Alexander Technique? We're all excited to find out about this technique.
Of course. First, to clarify, the kind of artist I am, a performance artist. I'm an actor, director, playwright, singer. So in the performance realm, that's how I met Alexander Technique, actually. So I was at acting school in New York, and it was one of the offerings. And I first discovered it applied to acting. But really, what Alexander technique is a mind-body awareness technique. It's an investigation of how you use your body, how your mind is a part of that, how you respond to stimuli, what is the best way for you to use your body, how posture relates to your breath, how breath relates to literally everything.
Yeah.
So it applies to performance. Performers usually do the technique, but you can be an athlete and do it, and you can be a regular person because we all use our body.
Yeah, we want to enhance ourselves, and I think this would be fabulous for children. You know, at a very early age, if we introduce this technique, it might be quite helpful to them.
And actually, when we're studying the technique, we examine how children use their body first, because we naturally use our body well. But then over time, due to stressors in the environment, we start to develop habits that actually impede our development and impede the best use of our body. So, for example, one of the principles of Alexander technique is examining your habits. So I like to think about it like in a 3-part system: alignment, autonomy, and authenticity. So alignment being literally how you're aligned in your spine, so the head-neck relationship. And in allowing more ease in that relationship through breath, through better posture, then your limbs can work more freely. You know, then you can respond to things happening around you in a way that's actually authentic to who you are and it's not damaging your body. So like chronic back pain, chronic headaches, all those things come from bad posture.
Very true, absolutely true. So like I said, it's really something for us to introduce to our children at a very young age. Like, you know, to sit up properly. You know what I mean? To have yourself in a different disposition.
Yeah.
It's going to help them to even concentrate.
And one of the things I want to do is teach children this technique. I've mostly taught adults, so performers and non-performers. I've developed a masterclass for people who will suffer from anxiety in the work environment, because part of what this technique does is give you regulation tools for any kind of situation. You know, because we can't really control what's happening in our environment, but we can control how we respond.
I like that because it's the truth. We can't control others' thoughts, the way they think, the way they behave, but we can ourselves. If we master the art of fixing ourselves and not focusing on the other or trying to point fingers, but fix us when we are whole, then we could give all of ourselves.
Yes, and I like that you use the word whole, because that's one of the things I play with, is what wholeness really means.
Yeah.
You know, and I usually meditate on the word shalom, and what shalom means is like all parts are together, all parts are in relationship to each other and peacefully in relationship to each other, which is what shalom really means. Not just like a passive peace, but it's a bringing together things in alignment so they work well together, and restorative shalom, you know? So as you use the word fix is a word we can use. It can appear to be judgmental sometimes, because you as you are okay. But what does it mean to be a better version of yourself, moment to moment, you know? Using the environment also. So not really ignoring the environment, but being aware of like, okay, that person's tone of voice, like noting this is how my body responded to it, and having a grounding technique to kind of just like recognize that and know like, what do I now do with what's happening in my body, you know?
I like that because it's controlling yourself, your emotions as well.
Exactly.
Breathing and counting from 1 to 10, not 1 to 5, 1 to 10. Some of us need a 1 to 10. I need a 1 to 10. You know, counting and just getting yourself together, getting your thoughts together before responding.
Exactly.
Stepping aside, stepping away.
Yes.
Fixing me, the individual.
But not stepping away from yourself, but more like putting a bit of a gap in the situation. So pause before responding without abandoning yourself. Which sounds very dramatic, but we often abandon ourselves. So meaning like if we have a stressor, the first thing we do is like kind of like leave what's happening versus checking in, you know? And the first thing is just like, oh, how am I breathing? Did I hold my breath? Am I feeling the ground? And having that reconnection happen first.
Without losing your cool.
Without losing your cool. And if you lose your cool, well, cool, that's part of it. Like acknowledge that and kind of assess what happened there, you know?
Because we're only human.
Yeah.
There's only so much one could take, or I think so much one could control.
Yes.
within yourself before you have an outburst or before you say what you say. So that's why I referred to count from 1 to 10. Yeah, before you respond.
Yeah.
Or before, because you can allow a situation to multiply and grow into a monster, or you could nip it in the bud, step away, breathe, and deal with it in a different way.
Exactly. So that's one of the principles of the technique. There's also a hands-on element. So if I were giving you a private session, there would be a massage table, and we do like a chair session where I'm using gentle directed touch to help relieve stress in the body, knots in the body. Think of it like physiotherapy or massage therapy, but very gentle directed touch to help things come back into alignment.
Very nice. I want to elaborate a little bit on how it worked for you, first of all, because you are the master in terms of knowledge. And how did you apply it, that technique into your life so that you could be the change that we want to see, that be the example?
Yeah, a really good question. Well, I fell in love with it at the Acting Academy first because it gave me such freedom in my body.
Okay.
So I was able to embody really difficult text, so really emotionally heavy text, without it being a stressor on my body and my emotional life. So it gave me access to my voice in a different way and ease in my body so I can perform night after night and not actually feel tired or feel as though the emotions of the play had caused me to crumble. It actually gave me this kind of freedom, in a very literal sense, where my voice was able to last and my body last and my emotional life was healthier. And so with that, I was like, oh, this is amazing. But then I realized that went outside of stage and just like in regular conversations, what it meant to be like present here with me, present with you, here in my breath, and be really more in tune with human beings. Listen better. Listen to myself better first, and then listen to others better. So maybe literally a better human being.
How do we listen to ourselves?
Well, first, breath. So even like right now, if I'm to practically do it, I'm sensing the ground under my feet, sensing the chair under my pelvis, and I'm sensing my breath and noticing what I notice. And even in this, I feel way more present with you and aware of like what's happening in my body and what's happening in my mind. And then in that, I'm listening to you better because I feel way more aware of your presence here. There's also like a prayerful element of it. I mean, Alexander technique is not a spiritual practice, but because of my own practice, in this I find I could listen to God more clearly because it's in the stillness, that kind of meditative practice.
You could listen to God more clearly. Explain that.
Well, in certain religions, we think of prayer as speaking, which is true, but a big part of prayer is listening. So it's just stillness, whether you're on your knees, the way our Muslim brothers and sisters do it, where they're like fully head touching the ground, or on your knees at a pew at a Catholic church, or just lying on your back and connected to the ground. Prayer starting with listening in, which is literally breath. And we think about what breath is. Breath was the first thing God gave us. And in that process of literally just breathing, that's where meditation comes about. And meditation doesn't have to be linked to a specific religion, but it's a practice of stillness and seeing what comes up. Did I answer that question?
You certainly did. This is the program Conversations with Zelisa right here on Real TV, where we bring reality to you. Speaking of reality, this young lady is as real as it can be. Gabrielle Scott, artist, and teaching us about the Alexander technique and how we can apply it to our lives so that we could gain control, we could make better decisions. And of course, when we make better decisions, better choices, we all will embrace a better tomorrow. All right, let's go to these important messages. Stay with us.
Are you looking for the right space for your business? Fred's Plaza has the space you need. We offer professional rental spaces designed for growing businesses. Conveniently located in San Juan on the Eastern Main Road, opposite the PTSC terminal and between Royal Castle and Mario's. easy access, high visibility. For inquiries, call or WhatsApp 868-384-7142 today, or visit Level 3 Fred's Plaza for details.
It's Bridging the Gap with NACA, hosting every Monday to Friday, 12 to 2 p.m. right here on Real TV, where we talk about the current issues and we get into the nitty-gritty of social issues. Stay tuned right here on Real TV.
In a world full of noise, choose clarity. The Real News digital publication is your choice for important news coverage. From influential figures shaping our nation to a powerful week in review that keeps you informed. The weekly edition is available for download on all of our social media platforms. Smart, sharp, essential. Real News digital publication. Stay informed. Stay educated, stay empowered.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zelisa right here on Real TV, where we bring reality to you. To all of our local, regional and international viewers, thank you so much for choosing us. Today I am in conversation with Gabriella Scott. She's an artist and she's talking to us about the Alexander technique and how we can apply that to our lives so that we could be better, more improved, out with the old, in with the new, a new and improved you, moving forward. Welcome back. The important thing is recognizing that we have the power within ourselves to change anything. And if we learn about such techniques that you're teaching us today, about the Alexander technique, which I think is brand new for some of us to understand, but if we learn certain techniques and we apply it, we all will taste a better day and a better tomorrow. Because we learn the art. I mean, we're only human, we don't live in a bubble. Challenges and storms will always come. We can't get away from that. But the art and the gift is understanding, all right, this too shall pass. I have a choice. Do I get ruffled over it? Do I allow it to continue? Or do I say enough is enough? And move forward with that attitude. What are your thoughts?
That's a beautiful way to sum it up, for sure. And what's really fascinating about this technique is it's starting with the body.
Yeah.
Because the body holds memory. So a lot of us having impulse, lack of impulse control comes from like what our body has experienced over time. And habits we've developed over time has come from things that have happened to us, things that we have done, and it ends up building into sort of a automatic way of functioning. When the Alexander technique encourages you to interrupt that process. We call it like the gap or the pause. And it can start with simple things like before you pick up your cup of coffee, pausing, sensing yourself in your chair, and then pick it up. And even using in those minor situations, that then applies to everything, So you actually have impulse control. And it's not about denying yourself, it's actually kind of like tuning into like, okay, all of these stimuli are happening. What is the choice I can make in this moment, in this pause? And when you apply that to literally everything, you have more autonomy over yourself, You
have that level of control. Not allowing anything to get the better of you and staying grounded.
Exactly.
Rather than lose your focus. Because many times we do tend to lose our focus. We do tend to forget about the goals.
Yeah.
Because of what's happening, the storm that you're in at the moment.
Exactly.
But if we only realize we have the control of letting go, letting that be and going with the flow, and not allowing, the moment you allow, I think, someone to ruffle your feathers, or to steal your joy, or to come into your place, or that place that becomes very toxic, it means you allow that person or persons to take control.
Exactly. Exactly that. And even that kind of verbiage I used in the masterclass I developed that you can do asynchronously. That's meant for people who are in the office place and experiencing high anxiety of like, how do you actually treat with all of this stimuli in your environment and do your job well without damaging yourself, you know, mentally and physically, because a lot of people are burnt out, you know.
You're burnt out, and on top of that, we are bombarded with the ills of society that's going on. You know, we still hear the news and we still look at social media and we see the storms that's happening outside, all of the challenges that people are facing, and yet you're battling with yourself. It's either yourself in your environment, your family, your children, your spouses, your parents, your siblings, your neighbors. And then to add to that, if your workplace or place feels toxic, can you imagine what that person is or that individual is dealing with on top of all the challenges that they have to cope and deal with?
Exactly.
It's difficult. So if you learn the art or have the technique of being able to, because we're only human, you know, some people might curse and carry on and rant and rave and, you know, but then there's some that's very cool and calm and collective. And I think they are the ones, when you're calm and you're cool, you make better choices so that you don't damage or further damage.
Exactly. And there's space to rant and rave, but like it being a decision, you know, so you can like privately deal with a thing. Because also not encouraging people to like press down and like pack away their feelings, but like gaining access to it in a way where you are in control of the access, so it doesn't just come out at a moment's notice without any warning, you know. So if you can treat with what's happening and the trauma that's been happening in your body over time in a controlled environment, then no one can just kind of switch you off, you know, because you've been dealing with it. So you've been dealing with your triggers privately. I think that's important because you don't want a situation to have control over you. So yeah.
That's important that you said that. You don't want the situation to take control of you, because in many cases that is what happens. And when you allow those such situations to take the better of you, that's when you lose the art of living.
Exactly.
You lose life, you miss out.
Yeah. And we can allow ourselves to feel all the things. Like we're going to feel anger, sadness, disappointment, and to let yourself feel it and then move through the emotion. You know, allow that to happen, so that you can then make a decision of how to respond to a situation. How it applied to acting was wonderful because you are embodying a character that's not your own, but you're drawing from your own experiences and you're using your imagination to tap into like what is the life of this character, what is the historical context of them, and then making decisions based on that. So you're really like in control of that, but have a freedom to let choices come to you, and then that play can apply to actual life as well.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's important that we recognize that, because I thought a lot of us are bombarded with dealing with our own personal emotions and then having to deal with children, having to deal with the attitude of people out there when you go into the world and into the workplace. And how do you strike a balance without losing your cool?
And then dynamic balance is really what it is. So something we play with in Alexander Technique is dynamic balance means it's constantly changing. Because sometimes we think like, okay, so I've nailed it, like I know how to treat with this now, but another stimuli is going to come and we're going to have to figure out again how to treat with ourselves in a new environment, because balance is a constant changing thing. If we think that we've nailed a particular problem, then we're usually really thrown off when another problem comes and the same solution doesn't work. You know, so what the technique does is gives you tools to keep being curious about yourself and like how you respond to things, because it's going to constantly change. We're never going to be like, okay, this is the fix and it's going to apply to everything. It doesn't work
I think
like that.
also what is important is that you respect yourself and love yourself. Because if you can't love yourself or you can't respect yourself, then nobody else will.
And then you can't respect and love others if you don't love and respect yourself.
Absolutely true. It's about understanding who you are, accepting who you are, and we'll always work towards having a better and improved you.
Exactly that. And that's going to look different day to day. And like having patience for yourself. Because even earlier you were saying if you fly off the handle, what it means to be kind to yourself that you've thought off the handle, and that doesn't now define who you are because you're cuss and carry on. It's like, oh, what happened there? Let's assess. How did I reach to that point, and how do I mitigate something like that happening again?
That's when you allow people to take control of you.
Exactly.
And your mind.
Exactly.
And that's when you lose the battle and they win. So it's easier to tell yourself, get yourself together. Get your thoughts together. Be in a place where you are comfortable. When you look at things in a different way, thinking outside of the box in a different perspective, stepping back. Sometimes it's you also have to close that door.
Yeah.
And throw away the key.
Perhaps. Once we've dealt with the thing, because then it will come back after you've locked it away, it can come back up in a different
Absolutely
situation.
true.
This is why we do therapy.
Yeah.
So we can get to know ourselves and not be surprised when things happen.
Yeah. When is enough enough? When do you reach that point when you say, I've had enough, and you recognize I'm worth more, or I deserve more, or I deserve respect? When
I think first we shouldn't reach to a point where we realize we've been disrespected over and over again. So marking the indicators very early on. Oh, I find this person always has this tone of voice with me. If we continue to allow that, they're going to think it's okay. So enough is enough starts real early on. It's not giving people liberty to treat you badly from the jump, because then you give them permission and they think this is how you're okay with being treated. I think very often we wait until it's the end of our rope, and then we've been completely traumatized.
Yeah.
And if it's me personally, I'm getting to know, when have I been denying myself just to make sure other people feel safe? When I have to feel safe first before I even create a safe environment. One of the ways in which I use this technique with performers is encouraging them to make sure that their body is a safe space first, because you can't control the environment of a theater production, of the rehearsal process, which is usually very rigorous. But if you have tools to keep your instrument safe at all times, emotionally, mentally, physically, then you can help impede a traumatic event from happening in an environment, because you already know how to take care of yourself. You're regulating constantly.
That's where prevention is better than cure. Nip it in the bud. Once you know what the problem is, you'll find a solution. But we always know the solution. Sometimes we just don't acknowledge it and we don't apply it.
It takes courage. Simple as that.
It takes courage.
Yeah.
I like that. This is a program, Conversations with Zelisa, right here on Real TV, where we bring reality to you. Let's go to these important messages. When we return, we continue to talk to you today about the Alexander technique, how we can apply it so that we could be happy, we could be improved, and we could taste success. Let's go to these messages.
Ladies and gentlemen, young people, senior citizens, it is my pleasure and privilege to invite you to look at the program Inspired on Real TV at 2 p.m. every Wednesday afternoon. Inspired is designed to lift your spirits, to help you overcome depression and failure, so you could be an outstanding, extraordinary success. We have special experts every Wednesday who will inspire you to do better, to be your best self. So may God bless you. And remember, every Wednesday at 2 p.m., please look out for the program Inspire.
Let's get straight to the point. I am Dale Edwards, Dale the Voice, and we're going to get straight to the point right here on Real TV. Join me Monday to Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. when we talk the hard truth. We're not beating around the bush. We're getting straight to the point, dealing with real issues, social, politics, and much more. Monday to Friday, the only place to be is right here on Real TV.
The Ambassador's Daughter, weekdays at 11 a.m., only on Real TV.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zelisa right here on Real TV, where we bring reality to you, to all of our local, regional and international viewers. Thank you so much for choosing us, allowing us to influence you in a positive way, adding value. I always say knowledge is power. Speaking of knowledge, I'm in conversation with a very knowledgeable young lady, and today she's talking to us about the Alexander technique and how we can apply it to our lives and how we can, improve, be new and improved. Welcome back in conversation with Gabriella Scott. She's an artist and she's also a teacher when it comes to the Alexander technique. You know, many times it's really difficult. As adults, we have our challenges that we face, but we may think that children in a world where they have no problem at all, no responsibilities. We often say, if only you know how good you had it, because you have no, but they're in their little world and they have their little challenges that they deal with every day. And so, as parents, guardians, the ones that are responsible for them, how can we take this technique and apply it at a very early age into the lives of our children? And that is a technique to be able to control, so that we could help them to blossom and we could teach them the art of prevention better than cure, and how to take control of every situation that may come their way in a positive way, not a negative way.
Well, honestly, the first thing would be for the parents to practice the technique.
Right.
Because children mirror their parents.
Absolutely true.
So they are learning how to respond, how to react, how to speak from you, the parent, and children are actually doing things the better way initially because of how the body is designed. So they're aware of themselves way more than we are, which is why they're so sensitive, which is also why they seem very reactive, but they're just so aware. So they need tools of like, okay, when I feel this feeling, what do I do with it? Can I speak why I'm upset, what upset me, and then know what to do with those feelings? And their parents who do this already, they help the children acknowledge like, oh, I feel sad about this. And then you tell your parent you're sad versus like, mash up your toys, But if the parent already knows how to practice this, that's the first thing. Before the children, I think, are even introduced. Because then the parents are also going to learn how to listen better to their children. And when I say listen, I don't just mean listen to their words, but like sensing the shift in the room, sensing around this time of the, my son tends to behave like this, or around this other child, like that sense of like deep listening, deep awareness, which is the foundation of the technique. Parents learning that first is pivotal before even the child learns it, because they are teaching us.
You're absolutely correct. The apple will not fall far from the tree, and they're like little sponges and they absorb. And so children are a reflection of their parents. But then they've got their own little personality and mind of their own as well.
Exactly.
And if we don't fix ourselves, how can we fix our children?
Because we want to teach them to fix themselves. We shouldn't actually be trying to fix them. We want to model for them and give them tools to play with, If they feel like we're trying to do this to them, then it becomes...
You said something that's extremely important. listen to your children. Very often we ourselves are so consumed with multitasking and doing a million things at the same time, listening to our children, but do we really hear what they're saying? Do we really take time to say, this is time one-on-one and we are going to have a conversation, like you and I are having a conversation, and we focus on this moment and we focus on the topic. So we listen and we absorb and we really give them that one-on-one attention and time, so that they know and they feel that there's always a safe place for me where I can be heard, where I feel important, where I don't feel as if I'm on the second burner, but rather the first, and the interest is always there, that the parent, their interest is always, the child understands that. That I could go to mom and dad, this is my safe place, this is my rock, this is my cushion. More importantly, you feel comfortable enough to have conversations with them.
Exactly, and listening to understand versus listening to respond, you know?
I like that. Listening to understand rather than respond immediately.
Yeah, and children are way more like moment to moment. So like one of the principles is like really not jumping ahead to like what you have to do in the next 5 minutes, but like being here and like continuing the task moment to moment versus thinking about the end of the task, you know? And when you spend time with like young children, I find myself slowing all the way down, because they literally would pick up a toy and they're completely enthralled with this, and then they decide, okay, I'm done with this, and they go to their next task. But there's something in the simplicity of that where you are really like present and your breath is more easy, and you finish an entire task better when you think of it moment to moment, rather than thinking like, this is the end result I need, you know? So this applies to literally everything, whether it's a painting you're doing, whether it's an essay you're writing, a dissertation, like fixing a car, being like, this is the first part of the task, and then you keep going, versus thinking about the engine needs to be fixed. How do we get the engine fixed?
The process, yes, it makes a lot of sense, the process.
Exactly.
The art of going through the stages.
And really relishing in like the moments of the process, because then you also learn more, and it's more enjoyable.
How do we get our children to stay focused and not be everywhere? You understand what I'm saying? They go to a class and they focus and not be easily distracted, or even in a conversation, they're focused and in that moment and not be everywhere else. Because sometimes you and I could be sitting here having a conversation, but my mind is thinking about, all right, I have a meeting today, or you are thinking, well, I need to get to point B. You know, there's so many things that we're constantly thinking and bombarded. How do we block out all of that and live in the moment?
Good question. Well, one, I don't think we're supposed to block out everything. We'll have to acknowledge these are all the different things happening.
Right.
Because in acknowledging it, then we can choose. When we block out, it can cause a stress on the body and on the mind, when that's counterproductive. And that's how come we end up having like chronic pains and like headaches, because we're kind of trying to force a thing, versus acknowledging, okay, I'm thinking about this thing. What am I choosing to bring into this moment, hey? While acknowledging those other things exist. Because children haven't learned how to block things out as much, they're really aware and they seem distracted, but they just kind of need the tools to like bring it all into focus at the same time. And also learning each child needs different things in their environment in order to focus. So if a child has ADHD, for example, doesn't mean they can't focus. It means they're really interested in many things at once. So what kind of physical environment do we have to create for them so that they can do this one task? It may not mean telling them like sit still. That actually might be torture. It might mean they can learn their ABCs while they're walking around the room. You know what I mean? It might mean they have to do their math homework outside. It might seem like a distraction, but they feel more free outside. So like, let's make the math homework happen in the outside environment. So it's like using the things that are stimuli and let them not be distractions, but feed into the experience. Does that make sense?
It does.
With adults, it's a little more tricky, but it's possible.
Why is it tricky and possible?
Because we have more habits to unlearn. You know, we've been taught like, okay, we have to do this task in this particular way. I know I struggled in school because I was told, sit at this desk and do this task, but I realized I actually had to move, you know? So it's only more difficult with adults because we've been taught a particular way to be. That may not be actually how our brain functions. You know, so one of the things the technique does is helps each person know like, oh, this is who I am, this is how I function. How can I do that within any environment without being disruptive? You know, because you might function differently. If we're both studying for an exam, you might need it to be quiet in the room. I might need some music playing, and I have to like move around. So how can we coexist?
5 fingers, none are the same.
Yeah.
So we deal with things in a different way. We accept things in a different way. And sometimes we judge people or we expect people to behave the way we would. And that's something we have to understand. That's far from the truth. You just have to learn to understand, I respect your way, or I respect what you say.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I accept it. Respecting it is, this is your perspective on something, and this is my perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't, you respect it, but it doesn't mean you accept it, or you will be that way.
Yeah, exactly. And then respect really embodied means how can we figure out together a way to coexist in an environment? So not even be separate and apart, but like coexist in harmony, you know, and that takes work, but it's possible.
It's possible, but is it possible with the hope that year after year or situation after situation, you're getting, it's the same formula and you're getting the same results. And in order to get a different result, you have to change the formula.
Yeah. So it has to be both people working together, you know?
Oh, it takes 2 sides.
Exactly.
So it's like a broken marriage.
Exactly.
Or a friendship. Or even siblings rivalry. You know, and that happens where you say, enough is enough. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I did it because, what was the outcome? What is the reason? Do I intend to continue like this, or am I saying, enough is enough, I've had it?
Yeah, exactly.
And
it
who's
goes
to
back
judge who?
Exactly. But it goes back to listening that we spoke about earlier. Like first listening to yourself and then listening to the person and coming to an understanding. And the understanding might mean we cannot coexist in the same room. Like that could be the result. You know?
So let's talk about the Alexander technique now in scenarios like that. How does it work?
So for like conflict resolution, maybe?
Yes.
Oh, that's a fun question. Okay, let me think of a very practical example. So one of the things I do, I would go into a workplace and have a workshop with the staff or crew. And first, I would walk them through specific exercises that encourages them to first be present with their body, do a lot of breath work, sort of a meditative work and movement in meditation, and have each person assess or be aware of what is their response to specific stimulus in the environment. And we're starting with like small things, and then I may put them in certain scenarios where you have a one-on-one with someone. And then a fun exercise that's also very awkward is literally just having 2 people sit and look into each other's eyes and not speak for 5 minutes and just breathe. And it sounds very intense, but when I tell you, so much comes out of this because it's deep listening without speaking. And something happens there in removing of walls in just really intense eye contact and breathing. And then from that, we could take it into like having dialogue about a thing. But it's easier for your thoughts to come up after you've just sat in silence and breathed. Because then things are like removed. Your first thoughts are normally kind of something that maybe is biased or like icky. But after you've removed that, then you can have an honest conversation here. Because you've both had eye contact for 5 minutes straight. And things are like unveiled. Yeah.
And you create that calm. Not preparing for the storm.
Exactly. And both of you have chosen to do this thing already. And so it makes it easier, you know, because you consented to, okay, I'm going to sit here with you.
It's also important that you take accountability and responsibility and be human enough or big enough to say, I am wrong, rather than point the fingers. Listen and understand that in order to move forward, you first have to clear the air and take that responsibility. You know, what I did or what I said was wrong.
Yeah, and it takes being vulnerable, which is something we don't like to do.
Yes.
Which is why the eye contact breathing exercise, it both people, it encourages both people to be vulnerable first in silence, which then makes it easier to be vulnerable with Roots. Because you've both done the thing at the same time, you know? But we don't like to be vulnerable and admit things. That's hard, you know?
But it's about being honest with yourself, and that's important.
And it's
being honest with your, I like that. Being honest with yourself first of all, and it is for you, to help you. Great. This is a program, Conversations with Zelisa, right here on Real TV, where we bring reality to you. Let's go to these important messages. When we return, we continue our conversation. Stay with us.
I am Zelisa Budu Singh Rupani, inviting you to join me for the rebirth of Apne Sitare, Our Stars, a vibrant and spectacular show celebrating the incredible local talents of the sons and daughters of Trinidad and Tobago. Experience the beauty of our culture through singing, dancing, and musical performances as we keep the arts alive and shining bright. Tune in right here on Real TV every Sunday from 1 p.m. for Apne Sitare, Our Stars. See you there.
A pleasant good day to one and all. I am Pastor John Arjun, pastor and founder of Passion for His Presence Ministries. I am so happy and delighted that you could join me here on Real TV every Sunday morning at 7 for the inspirational program Breakfast and Bible. I am so happy and delighted also to come into your homes, to come into your television sets on Sunday mornings at 7 for the program Breakfast and Bible on Real TV.
Are you looking for the right space for your business? Fred's Plaza has the space you need. We offer professional rental spaces designed for growing businesses. Conveniently located in San Juan on the Eastern Main Road, opposite the PTSC terminal and between Royal Castle and Mario's. Easy access, high visibility. For inquiries, call or WhatsApp 868-384-7142 today, or visit Level 3 Fred's Plaza for details.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zelisa, right here on Real TV. To all of our local, regional, international viewers, thank you so much for choosing us, allowing us into your homes, into your hearts. More importantly, adding value, because knowledge is power. Sharing the information that's going to help you understand life, understand yourself, understand your children, and to resolve so many situations that may come your way, the storms that may come your way. How do you navigate towards finding yourself again, finding peace again, finding love again? And of course, we have young Gabriella Scott. She's an artist, and when it comes to the Alexander technique, she's a teacher that would help us, once we apply, understand life a little better as we navigate and move forward. Yeah, welcome back. What, in your experience, how did this technique first help you? Because one of the things you said is we have to love ourselves and we have to fix ourselves first. And you being the guru or the teacher that's teaching us how we can apply this to help ourselves blossom, grow, fix, be whole again.
Good question. One of the first things is it helped me not to abandon myself when I was under pressure. And in a very literal way, to keep breathing freely, to start my days in a deep meditative practice, to really kind of help move out all of the ick that was there so that I can step into the day. And I found when I took 20 minutes every morning practicing the technique, because there's this thing we do called a semi-supine lie down, and you literally lie on the floor with your knees bent, hands on your torso, and you're breathing deeply and giving yourself directions of things to release. And beginning the day like that was very prayerful for me and helped me get into the day no matter what was happening. So that I had tools to come back to when I was under pressure. Especially in New York, it was very high pressure. And it helped me discover, like, oh, I've been abandoning myself regularly and looking at the needs in a space before checking in with me. So that's the first major breakthrough I had with the technique, and what it meant to love myself in a very like literal way of like, oh, we're gonna breathe, and we're gonna take a sip of water, we're gonna move some things out of your body. And because when you listen to yourself, you know what you need. So I would know, like, okay, right now I need to actually go on a walk before I go to class, or I need to have a cup of coffee and like read this particular passage before I go to this rehearsal. So that kind of sense of like, what does self-care look like each day, each moment, depending on the demands of the day. But first I had to learn to listen, which is just stillness and breathing, which is hard to do initially, but when you get that practice, you like want to do it. You're like, oh, I can't wait to like sit down and like do my deep breathing, and then I'll go on my date or go to school, you know, but like this being the first touch point.
When you say we need to love ourselves, for those that are looking at this show and they're saying love yourself, how do you begin to love yourself? What is the definition of loving yourself?
Well, if we were to put this in a very general term, because my definition comes from the Bible, but if we make that even more general, it's taking care of your body. You know, this first instrument, this temple, whatever word you want to use, and that looks like what you put in your body. It looks like the spaces you allow yourself to walk in. It looks like the kind of conversations you have, what you read, what you intake, what you're literally feeding your mind, body, and soul is ways in which you can love yourself. And then it makes it easier to make decisions because you know what you should be tolerating, you know? I hope that answers the question.
It does, very much so. We know how much we could take. And you know, especially if you have somebody bringing you to a point where I've had enough, this is my breaking point. Is that when you lose control or you take control?
And that's up to you. And it's up to the steps before that point. How long did it take you to realize you were uncomfortable? So that's why the listening in practice helps you not reach to that point. You're getting like a kind of a, because we get it. We get this feeling in our guts when I'm like, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable. And then we push past that, and suddenly we're having a breakdown, you know?
We have a discerning spirit.
Yes.
I've often said we know the end from the beginning.
I'm telling you, we always do. And we ignore the voice.
You have that inner voice, or you have that truth. And not wanting to accept the truth. So, but the fact is then, we damage our own selves.
Yeah, we're the first culprit.
Yes.
We are.
Because we allow it to happen.
And we are making decisions for ourselves. We love to make it seem as though life has done things to us, and things do happen to us that are terrible. But what we do with those circumstances, what we do with each scenario is really important. You know, there's this, one of the elements of the technique is looking at your thought process. And like literally, what are the thoughts that are literally like running through your head regularly, or like while you do something? And then that thought process goes into like how you are now speaking, and then how you are acting, you know, and then that goes into the kind of life you've created for yourself. But it starts with your thought pattern, you know, which any psychologist would tell you, or any like spiritual guru would tell you, like the thought process determines everything.
We control our thoughts.
Exactly. So that's why the Alexander practice of beginning the day with yourself, breathing, all of these thoughts, you're now like aware of them. And then you could like pick through them, decide what could take residence and what now needs to walk out. And then that can then translate into the rest of your day.
So that solid foundation, that anchor at the beginning of the day is when you first take control of your thoughts, your emotions, of ensuring that you have gratitude, look at the positive, and kick out the negative.
Exactly. And it's something you can keep tapping into throughout the day. But beginning like that is very important. You know, but still take pauses throughout the day. It could be in the middle of a conversation and just be like, oh, what's happening here? And just take a breath. You know, we're not abandoning ourselves throughout the day. We're keeping with this process of checking in. And it starts with like, how am I breathing? Am I breathing? You know, especially if you notice you're holding your breath, that's usually an indicator of like, wait, why am I holding my breath? What's happening? You know, something is happening around me that's making me hold.
Something, and that's when you identify, am I going to allow that something to get the better of me, or am I going to take control and move ahead?
Exactly.
Without this stealing my joy or stealing my peace.
Exactly.
You're in control at the end of the day. We all are in control. We are in control of our tomorrows. I always say it to my viewers near and far. We are in control. We actually determine what happens next. Yeah. Look into that camera and talk to the people out there that are broken and need to apply this technique to help them find peace, to help them find themselves again and get back on the path of feeling whole, loved, embraced, want to live life.
Okay. You cannot serve anyone if you're not first serving yourself. You cannot serve your community, your family, your friends, your job, until you are checking in with yourself first. Shalom, so wholeness, restorative peace, bringing into alignment your mind and your body is the first thing you should be doing at the beginning of your day and throughout the day. You can check out shalomastudios.squarespace when I offer individual classes, group classes. You can have a free consultation. I can offer you literature. I can give you an audio file that you can listen to at the beginning of your day as you layer in a meditative practice into your lifestyle. It is so worth it. You have to take care of yourself. This is the first thing you were given. You, your body, your mind.
You have to love yourself. I like that. Your closing remarks.
This has been fun, and it's caused me to reflect on the beginnings of why I started this technique and why I continued. So I really appreciate that and seeing how it applies not just to performance, not just to the workplace, but in regular conversation. So it's good to just kind of like revitalize that in me.
Yeah, and the beauty is this is about one taking accountability for oneself, taking accountability for determining what is going to happen in the next hour.
Yeah.
Simply by taking responsibility for oneself, loving oneself. There's a lot that we learn today because if you, I've always said, if you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. So first you have to love yourself, take care of yourself, appreciate who you are, understand what is your reason and purpose, and move forward.
Yeah.
You know, out with the old, in with the new. Sometimes some people think that's cool, but it's not. It's about closing that door, and only when you close that door and shut it, then another one can open, and then you could move forward. You know, so that also is about loving yourself enough to say, enough is enough, I've had it, let me close that door.
And if you love yourself, it's actually easier for you to love others and love the community, you know, because you're acknowledging like, you are worthy, you are sacred, and so are they. And then we'll be actually better people. But first, you have to love yourself.
Absolutely true. I want to thank you for taking time from your busy schedule. I know you wear a lot of hats and have lots of responsibilities, but I really want to thank you for coming and sharing this technique. And, you know, it's simple as sometimes you hear things, but do you really listen?
Yeah.
And let this day be the first day where you take control of your life, where you take control of the choices you make. What are you going to allow to stay here, and what are you going to throw away? You know, that is important, loving yourself. And thank you for coming and reminding us, you know, sharing your knowledge and experiences with us. I trust and hope we'll have other conversations as together we could help people evolve and live a happy life. Every day, every minute is important. Cherish it. Yeah? So good luck to you as you grow from strength to strength, and I look forward to having other conversations.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's been
You're
a pleasure.
more than welcome. This is where we're going to wrap things up. Love yourself enough to say, I love me today. All right, let this day be the beginning of a new you, a new and improved you, and a new chapter. All right, embrace it. Remember to be full of gratitude. Remember to keep smiling and know the best is always yet to come. And here's reminding you, my friends, that with God and only God, all things are possible. I am Zelisa Budu Singh Rupani. Thank you so much for choosing us here at Real TV. Great programming continues. A gentle reminder, like and share, because this is great information. Knowledge is power. Keep smiling. Thanks for choosing us. See you tomorrow.